Hello, people of the world watching internet that has to do with cars. Welcome to this. My 1974 RA21 Toyota Celica ST, which is now powered by a Toyota Tundra 2UZ V8. Thanks to the progress made in the previous two videos, it is now time to tackle Project Orange.
I can imagine if this is the first time you've ever watched a video on my channel right now, you probably got some questions about the time-traveling, teleporting penguin you just saw.
M12 by 1.25.
Anyway, back to what I was working on. These are some critical items that must be accomplished before this car will be drivable.
Chip away at them.
Some require some last-minute changes to design, which I have to order parts for.
Swap out as improper hardware.
And the rest, the parts have already arrived, and I can accomplish them hopefully all in this video.
RIP to another one of my wrenches. Literally just one fall to the ground and it broke.
Originally, all the suspension hardware on this car from the factory was coated in yellow zinc.
This one is too short. Okay. Incorrect? Correct. Before I drive this thing, I'm gonna put it on the 4-post lift and torque all of the suspension hardware. Pull the wrong nut. Okay. I say this because I know a lot of you in the comments are going to argue that this is the most critical thing to make sure you do when installing new upgraded suspension on a vehicle, but I will argue the most important thing that you can do is to make sure that this all has yellow zinc GIS hardware the same exact way it would have came from the factory from Toyota, because that matters too. Headers are torqued, fuel pump bracket bolt installed. OEM, genuine Toyota part.
A major issue not a lot of people ever mention when doing engine swap projects like this is because you're constantly uninstalling and reinstalling parts to test fit them, there's an increased likelihood that final assembly hardware might not be installed or torqued to spec.
Yeah, I could have got some of those clips from an auto parts store, but nothing fits better than the OEM Toyota ones. Oh yeah, that's proper. Yep, that would definitely probably mess a tire up pretty quickly. I don't know how I'm gonna be able to cut that at a good angle. Oh, I know what else I can change out. I'll do that later. As they say in movie people terms, I'm gonna take it from the top. And as they say in haircut people terms, I'm gonna take a little off the top. Smells like burnt popcorn. I don't understand why. I use a little bit of silver paint marker to touch up the end of that bolt. Oh yeah, it matches still. Obviously not everything can be yellow zinc, and it wasn't that way from the factory either, but the suspension bolts, those definitely were yellow zinc. Time to make this look pretty. The original 18RC engine wire harness was wrapped in this kind of canvas-like cloth loom, which is very similar to this blend of Tessa tape I purchased. It's kind of a canvasy finish, and it's also fire retardant as well as chemical resistant. Perfect thing to wrap the engine harness in. The original Tundra engine harness was just wrapped in electrical tape and modern plastic loom, and I want to try to bridge the gap between the new style engine and the old style wiring in engine bay. I mean, it says pretty durable. It's tooth-proof. Tooth-proof. That's hard to say. Tooth-proof. This is where it's gonna start getting real difficult. Okay. Leave that there just in case I need to modify its length, which I might. It is crazy how much room I free up in that engine bay when all the wires are loomed together. I need this to fit under my master cylinder, master blaster. Who runs Bata Town? The only reason why I'm doing the looming of the wires now before I drive this thing and ops check it is just because of how tight everything is down here by the brake and clutch master cylinders. I would have to tear all that stuff out and re-bleed the brakes after driving it just to re-loom this. Ordered a part for this, ordered a part for this, ordered a part for this. That is done. I am rapidly running out of things left before I can drive this. You know how I know this car didn't gain a bunch of weight in the nose? Because every time I have to rack it on this 2-post lift, it's balanced in the center, exactly 50-50 weight distribution on this thing. Package delivery. That is what I need to keep these things from cooking. I'm not even gonna play around. I'm gonna wear gloves because that's just ridiculous. Those are huge straps. Don't cut your fingers. I'll make this a little bit bigger so I don't waste material. I can always trim it down. And then along this ridge, that ridge, there. I think this is the first time in the history of ever that I've been able to use my tin snips for snipping actual tin. Alumitin. It's alumitin. It's not, same thing. This is not the easiest shape to cut out. I feel like from the factory, the edges of these things are rolled so you don't slice yourself. So good! I just gotta figure out a way to roll the dice so I don't slice into the wrapping. So if I use my smooth brain pliers, I might be able to put a bead on this. If I don't do this, it's surely a trip to the hospital if you accidentally are working on this car and rub up against it. If there's an official list of world's most tedious tasks, this would definitely be on there. Oh my fucking hands. I don't know if it's a workout or just abuse. Good thing I got this little bolt right here. Makes this way easier. Yeah, dead center. All right. I folded that tab over because I made it longer on top of itself, which doubles it up and makes it thicker to put a bolt through. Stronger. It's already really strong just from rolling the edges. Not entirely sure if a drill is the right tool for this. It's literally just tin. Might be overkill, but I thought that'd be overkill, but it actually worked perfect. Oh, that is so good. I want to leave plenty of room up here because the suspension has to go up, so molybdenum disulfide. That should fit now. This side's gonna be a lot more difficult because there's nothing to bolt the heat shield to right here.
Shrouded in secrecy for years, the stealth bomber will soon be introduced to the public.
Also, it's the following day, but don't worry about that because I gotta leave in a second to go get a haircut. If I trim this like I'm about to trim my split ends, it'll probably fit. We'll do it somewhere in the center of the cardboard. Now we're getting somewhere. And I do this about 10,000 times so I get the right shape. That needs to end right about there. That does that. That I know gets trimmed there. That I know it gets trimmed there, but I need to add some strength to this. So I'm gonna make that go wider. Added some upgrades to it. I got the idea for these heat shields just by studying brand new cars when I review them and how the factory does it. Just replicating what those engineers came up with. It hurts your arms, it's a workout. I mean, first attempt, it actually fits pretty good. I know where I gotta tweak it.
Some of you may find some of this a little bit excessive, but the original intent when I started this project was to make it seem as close as possible to as if Toyota themselves stuck this engine in the vehicle at the factory.
Now I get to repeat that not so fun process of rolling the edges that will probably take a good part of a half hour. Makes sense to try to make the heat shield cover this part of the steering rack also, since it's so close to the header, which that also adds its own level of complexity because I also have to take in consideration vibrations and I don't want a rattling heat shield. That would drive me insane. That works right there. That's a very professional looking heat shield already. Literally imagine car manufacturers just have some random engineer in a piece of tin with some smooth brain pliers and they're like, yep, just bend it like this. Okay. That's crazy. This looks factory.
You could argue it's a little bit newer school looking of a heat shield than you'd find in 1974, but so isn't a 2UZ.
Haircut complete. Welcome to the following day. This is an official piece of test cardboard used for official use only. FUOU. For official use only. In this packet is the recommended lithium-based lubrication for an A86 manual steering rack, aka Preparation H for robots. Push it through the rack. Some more on the flip side. This silicone boot cannot touch this upper aluminum shield or else it'll tear a hole through it as I turn back and forth. Yeah, I got clearance. Quite a bit of clearance actually. Inversely, I also need clearance between the shield and the header because it'll rattle if not. It's about the width of this cardboard. Give me a little dent right, oh yeah. This is a titanium zip tie used for header wrap. Tricky, tricky, tricky. Ta-da! Heat shields. Driver's side, passenger side. And another task accomplished. Originally, I had made these, ow that hurt, shields to protect the fuel lines in the footwell area of the car. However, I didn't realize at the time how thick this actually was. It's not great heat shield material. Luckily, I already got a template. I'm gonna have hands like a dump truck driver by the time I'm finished making these heat shields. I don't even know what that means.
In addition to that stuff not being the greatest heat shield material, what's more important is using the same material all throughout the car keeps it uniform looking, and that's more or less how it would have came from the factory.
I literally can't feel my fingertips at this point. That was kind of a waste of this gold foil wrap. Stuff's expensive. Oh well. Verdict of this stuff, 10 out of 10. Definitely recommend if you have to make heat shields. This is just like a knockoff brand too. I wanted to just test it out, see how I'd like this stuff. Absolutely amazing stuff. There's no way I'm getting a heat shield up there with this in place. In order for this heat shield to be effective at insulating these two fuel lines from the heat, the way this has to sit is I need to have an air gap between the header and the heat shield, which the radiant heat will then get absorbed into the shield, but I also need to have an air gap on the back side of it so that way it's physically not touching these two fuel lines, transferring that heat that this absorbs directly into them. It reduces the point of even having this, even though there's an air gap between it and the header. The solution was to do exactly how the factory would do it for these heat shields. Deliberation pays off because I think this will work. Oh yeah, these go on hard. I mean, that's how they're supposed to go on. This is how the factory holds them on. Yeah, these do not go on or come off easy. That is good. That means it's not gonna slip. To tighten the heat shield to those little star noodles, I'm gonna use some red Loctite on the nut. That way it keeps it in place and it keeps it tight against the heat shield. And if I ever need to remove it, just loosening this will pull the whole stud out. Easy peasy. Whoa, that's too much Loctite. And the back of these nuts are knurled too, so it keeps it against the little ridges in the heat shield from spinning. And then over here on the passenger side, you can see I got the air gap between the heat shield and those fuel lines and the massive air gap between the header. That's perfect. These came in the mail today, and there are 3 potential solutions for the problem I addressed with the fuse box in the previous video. This bracket right here was harder to figure out than it was sticking a V8 in this car. I think that'll work. I think that will work. I'm so tired of having to unplug and plug and unplug and plug and unplug and plug this. I smoothed out the edges on this too, just so it wouldn't eventually cut a wire. Yep, that fits. Even though there's a drain hole, I can't have a massive gap right here on the side. The solution is a roll of rubber ammunition. Ugh, what kind of ancient prehistoric tape is this? Will that fit? Oh, almost. This will also create kind of like a little maintenance access too. This stuff's super thick. Perfect. Yeah, something like that. Take the fuse box. So there's two little spots where I can notch it. It'll lock that rubber seal on this ridge and this ridge. Something like that. This stuff is pretty gnarly, so it should stick it in place pretty good. Now I gotta just let that glue cure, and then the box can be sealed up. Well, Charlie has appeared.
The one, the only.
You solved an engineering problem that I had no clue how to fix, and then you broke it.
I was able to bend and modify the original throttle pedal arm to work with the factory gas pedal that's in the Celica.
Just in case you're not up to speed on the situation with the gas pedal in this car, I'm using the factory 74 Celica pedal itself, but because it's a drive-by-wire throttle body, I use the upper portion of the pedal with a sensor from Alexis LS430.
I also discovered once it was installed that when you floored the pedal, you could get it to over travel and it would get stuck wide open. Now, when you floor it, you can't over travel, which would be really bad in a car like this.
Did you have to use your lathe or your mill for any of this?
Just for the little bracket for the throttle stop, just to make it look professional and clean, not for any other reason. I could have made it with like a drill bit and a file.
Oh. That's amazing. I will give you the privilege of erasing since you were the one that engineered this solution.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I can take this one off. Fuel heat shields. Done. More than 3/4 of the stuff that's left on that board has a % sign next to it, which means that there's a part on order. Don't ask why, that's just something we did in the Air Force. The next big thing that I have to do to this thing is to make the intake pipe, which is gonna require the rocket ship fabricator. Other than that, the only thing that's preventing me from starting this car and driving it is I just gotta get the oil cooler mounted, and then the heater core lines, and then fill it with coolant, put the radiator back on, and bleed the clutch and the brakes. And thankfully, the vast majority of you understand that all of those things require me to not only engineer the parts, but fabricate them and implement them onto the vehicle to make this even possible. That's why this last bit takes so long. I'm not just assembling a car that is stock. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you soon with another video. Bye.